Hey everybody, welcome back. It is week 7, so we're about halfway through, and we're going to take a quick look at what's going on this week and invite you to enjoy week 7. All right, so let's take a look first at the syllabus. I have not turned on the student view yet, so we can take a look at that. We are, as I mentioned, in week 7, which for us means that we are in the week where the first research paper is due. So this is going to be a stressful week for some of you, but I'm mostly going to encourage you to reach out if you need help. Haven't had a lot of questions posted or asked in the inbox yet. So it may be that we haven't gotten too far into it yet, which is fine. But that's what's due this week. So that's your main goal. You're also still reading the materials for the Harlem Renaissance, and the reading and activity response is due at the end of next week. So we have a stretched out module a little bit with this particular time period, not only because it has a lot of good readings, but also, of course, because you are in the midst of that doing a research paper. Now, if you did not watch last week's video, I would encourage you to go back and watch it again, because I did talk a lot about the research paper and tried to get you some good start on it. So I would go back and watch that if you haven't already. But of course, we will take a look at the module and see where we are and all that good stuff. So let's turn on the student view. As I mentioned, we are in the module number 4, which is the Harlem Renaissance and the first research paper, and we are smack in the middle of it. So in the resources and assignments section, you've got 2 lectures this week, one on the content and one on research paper writing. So for the purposes of getting the paper going, if you have not already done so, the second lecture is going to be probably more important. If you didn't watch it last week, make sure you watch it this week. You have the new readings and videos for this week, for this module. You are able to choose from this material for the research paper, as well as the previous 2 historical periods. So your goal is to have at least 1, maybe 2 at the most, primary sources, which is the literature or the art itself. And then you will have research about that you have done using the Lake Sumter State College Library. I have a link here, of course, to the library, not only for purposes of the research paper, but for the patent book, which you can access through the library. So I will remind you that your most important information about the paper is down here. We have some links to a discussion of literary criticism. It is entirely possible to take a look at the literature through a particular critical lens, such as feminism or psychoanalytic criticism. There's a lot of different things to choose from there. So you can check that out. We have a how to create a paper in Word. Word is a little bit weird in that it tries to give you extra spacing and all kinds of weird stuff. So check that out. This is the updated research review for MLA 8. That is a PDF that you can read through. There is another PDF on academic research in general. And then finally, this may or may not apply. If you have purchased a book, you are working with what's called an anthology, not the patent book, but if you've purchased back on the homepage, I've got a Norton anthology that I suggested. If you wanted to purchase a book, you could. If you are working with that anthology, this will be relevant to you. So for the research paper, let's take a look at the assignment itself. Each paper must be at least 4 full pages. That means that your works cited page will be at least page 5 or more. The papers, of course, are MLA formatted because this is a humanities class. So your margins are 1 inch all around. The header has your last name and the page number. The first page starts with student's full name, my last name, the course number with the CRN, and the date. Those go on the regular left-hand margin. You center the title on page on at the top in the middle of right below those 4 lines. It's line 5. And you should give your paper a title something other than research paper. It should be specific to the content. All the paragraphs in the paper have that first line indent. You can use the tab to do that. And then on the first blank page, you have the works cited entries and the heading of works cited at the top of that page. All entries use the hanging indent. They're also all in alphabetical order. All titles are capitalized and have either quotation marks or italics, depending on what kind of title it is. Any quotations more than 4 lines long are using what's called block formatting. And then the entire document is double spaced with no additional spacing. So that's where Word can get a little messy. All your research needs to be cited using MLA documentation. So you will have the works cited page, but that is not all. You will also have internal citations for anything that is from a source. It doesn't matter if it's quoted or paraphrased. The papers will be based on no more than 2 key figures or works of literature or art. And I mention that because in writing about anything in depth, it sounds tempting to write about 5 people if you only have to write 4 pages, but that's not going to be a very good research paper. So it's always better to have a very limited scope and really get into the details about it. The chosen primary sources must be from our course's assigned readings. So you don't, if there's another slave narrative that you've read for something else, that's great, but it shouldn't be included in this. You could do a comparison and contrast between something we've read and something that you've read outside of the course, but at least one of the things has to be something that is assigned for us. You must also include additional research beyond just the reading or work of art itself. So research should be academic in nature, meaning it needs to come from the library. Secondary and tertiary source requirements, at least 3 substantive reputable secondary sources. A secondary source is something that an expert has written about that work of literature or that key person. It could be something biographical. Tertiary and reference sources may not need to be used, but they probably will. So anything like encyclopedias and things of that nature, but those need to be academic as well, meaning no Wikipedia, please. So you will have there's a little discussion here of what are the different types of sources, and that is covered in some of the ancillary materials as well. In terms of how to develop the research paper, you can focus on formal elements. Of course, if you're writing about poetry, you're probably going to focus on the formal elements. Fiction and drama are a little bit different, and a lot of our readings are nonfiction, so they may not have plot, character setting, point of view, etc. If you are writing about some of the nonfiction, including the slave narratives or things like Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois, you're probably going to focus more on sociological and cultural criticism and focusing on those social issues. The main thing is that you also want to assume that whoever is reading your paper, in this case, it's mostly me, has read the stuff. So you don't need to recap it. You never need to give a summary of what's happening. You make a point and you write about it. You use the point, give a point, make a quote, adding secondary research where possible, and so on and so forth. If you need help with it this week, please reach out and we can make a time to get together. All right. So that's it. That's your goal. There's the rubric. I would definitely take a look at that rubric. Make sure that you utilize the library. I mentioned in last week's video how to get in touch with Miss Rackley, who is our designated librarian, but you can work with any of the Lake Sumter librarians. That's absolutely fine. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great week and happy paper writing. Please, please, please let me know if you're having issues. Take care, everybody.